See, if you've ever wondered why some people, everything just seems to work out for them. And then some of us, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we apply effort, things just seem to not stick. Momentum just doesn't seem to build. We keep backtracking, we keep procrastinating, we keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. And even as we try new techniques, new things, they seem to produce the same results. There's a very, very specific reason why that's happening. It's because the actions that we take produce results not based off of the actions themselves. They produce results based off of the energy that is infused in the action. If you're making a video, that's an action. But the energy that you make that video with directly impacts how that video is received by the person watching it. I experience this firsthand. When I make a video, but my energy is infused with fear, anxiety, worry, that translates to the person behind the camera. When I make a video where I'm actively transmuting my fear and worry into peace, into love, that is experienced by the person behind the camera. And I've noticed that because when I'm experiencing more peace and love, the views go up. When I'm experiencing more anxiety, fear, and identifying with that, the views go down. And that's okay. You're not to be identified. You don't need to be identified with whether the views go up or the views go down. In fact, that just generates more anxiety, more fear. Because being attached to outcomes is actually, it's where you're grounding yourself. You're trying to ground yourself in a potential future outcome. When you ground yourself in the present moment, you no longer fear what kind of outcome is going to happen, because that's not even being generated by your mind. You're simply existing in the present moment, and that becomes your foundation. So it's actually changing what you've habituated to be your foundation. If up to this point you habitually ground yourself in what you hope the future will be and what you need the future to be, I recommend that you recognize that that's not actually an effective way to operate in reality. And that's because what your mind is doing is it's projecting based off of fear. It's projecting based off of this idea that you won't be happy unless this happens. And so you're tying your happiness to an external circumstance happening in your life. And that might not sound like a problem, but I'll explain to you why that generates suffering. Because what you're doing is you're saying that I don't have happiness now. And when you're saying that I don't have happiness now, you're actually generating a separation between you and your happiness. And so even if you manage, and I'm sure you've experienced this before, even if you manage to accomplish the thing that you want, that you think, or get the thing that you think will make you happy, what happens is you'll either get the thing, but it won't be in the way that you want to get it, and that will make you feel suffering. Or you get the thing, and then you lose it right after, and then you feel suffering. Or you get the thing, and you realize that it's not actually what you wanted, or that it wasn't enough, and now you want something else. And so the cycle continues. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the thing, or that you shouldn't experience the things that you want in life. I absolutely advocate for experiencing the things that you want in life. I think that you should absolutely experience everything that you want in life. But I know that the best way to experience the things that you want in life is to have them come to you effortlessly and to actually experience joy when you have them. And what happens is that joy actually compounds, and so you experience more and more of what you love. I can attest to this. My life is a living testimony of this information. I'm speaking from direct experiences. The more that I let go of outcome by grounding myself in this present moment, the more life plays out in a mutually harmonious way for me and for everyone around me, and I experience more of what I want. This morning, I sat down at Starbucks. It's my usual morning routine. I wake up at 6, I go and rollerblade down by the beach and watch the sunrise, and then I go to Starbucks, get a matcha, and I sit down and I meditate outside the Starbucks. This morning, I woke up a little bit later, did my usual routine, went and rollerbladed by the ocean, sat down at Starbucks, and meditated outside. And I sat there for probably about an hour. 20 minutes into the meditation, I decided to open my eyes, and all I felt was bliss. And as I'm observing the people passing around me, the birds flying, the cars, the sounds, I'm experiencing profound bliss. And I'm just watching it all happen, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's a time in my life where I wouldn't have believed that this was possible, that I could sit down outside of a Starbucks and experience bliss for no reason, just because I'm there. I hadn't taken any substance, except for my matcha, if you want to count that. A little caffeine, great stuff. You are already that you desire to be. And it is only thoughts in your mind that want to try and convince you that you're not. They want to try and convince you that you're not there yet, that there's something that you have to do. There's somewhere you have to be first, some sort of experience that you have to have in order to be who you already are, who you truly know deep down you're supposed to be, not these unaligned appearances of personality, right? Because I know you feel it. I know you feel it when you behave and speak and act in ways that don't really feel like how you want to be. I know you feel like this isn't me. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. I get that. Don't reject those parts of yourself. The more you push against them, the more resistance you create. What you want to do is you just want to allow that to exist and recognize that it actually isn't you, and that you don't have to react to it in some negative way. You don't have to shame yourself. You don't have to condemn yourself. Oh, there's something wrong with me for being this way. You're not actually that way. All you're doing is you're observing past conditioning playing out as personality, as actions, as thoughts, as words coming out of your mouth. And you can just observe that happening real time and release it. And as you release it, emotions transform, thoughts transform. How you doing? And every experience around you begins to transform in ways that you can't even imagine. It's a very profound experience when you start to realize that everything you're experiencing is literally just a representation of something that already happened in your mind a while ago. And so then you stop reacting to everything as if it's something happening now to you. And you can just recognize that it's just seeds that you unknowingly planted at some point before, coming back to you to ask you again, to give you one more chance. Is this really who you want to be? Is this really the life that you want to live? And if it doesn't feel aligned, you can say, you know what, actually, that's not me. I no longer identify with that. And you let that experience pass like turning the page in a book without resistance, without fighting it, without condemning yourself or even identifying with being that. You treat it like something happening on a movie screen. And then all of a sudden, everything transforms. All of a sudden, things change. And that pattern that kept looping over and over and over in your life stops playing out. The next time the trigger happens that before previously sent you into the spiral that led you down that same loop, the next time that trigger happens, all of a sudden you respond differently. You don't even know where that response came from. It just happens naturally. It comes to you because you released the resistance that was suggesting that you couldn't respond that way, that you couldn't allow yourself to be led, guided by your own intelligence, that there's something that you lack inherently that makes you incapable of doing it. You can do it. And the more you release the resistance, the more you realize that you can do it. And that, in fact, this whole time, you've been doing it. And I know you've experienced it. I know you've experienced times where you're in flow, where things are, for some reason, just effortless. Maybe on vacation. I remember I used to experience it a lot when I was on vacation, flow. I would go on a vacation and it was like I allowed myself, it's like a permission slip to be a different version of myself. All of a sudden I'm more charismatic, more energetic. I feel less fear and anxiety. I'm experiencing things that I've never experienced before. I remember when I went to the Bahamas for a couple months with my boss, my mate on a yacht. I lost my phone in the beginning of it and I dropped it in the water. On like the second day, dropped my phone in the water. And I remember thinking to myself, damn, I'm not gonna have a phone, what am I gonna do? By the 6th day, I remember all of a sudden I just all of a sudden released all this attachment to the fact that I lost my phone. And I just accepted I don't have a phone. And I'm not gonna have a phone until I get back to the US. Bliss, connection, clarity. It was like the most tuned and tapped in time I've ever felt at the time in my life. No anxiety, no fear. I realized that a lot of the fear and anxiety that I had been experiencing was tied to my social media. And I remember laughing about that. I was like, how silly that just losing my phone for a month granted me all this clarity. And ever since then, my relationship with social media and my phone has changed dramatically. I'm very thankful for the fact that I broke my phone in the Bahamas for a couple months. But that doesn't mean you have to go get rid of your phone. That's just what happened to me. This information becomes easier and easier to understand and easier to apply in your life. So be patient with yourself, love yourself. Don't shame yourself or condemn yourself for any way that you've been, because remember, you are not who you've been or the way other people treat you or the life experiences that you've had up until this point. Those have just been reflections of the conditioning that you've been unknowingly identified with up until this point. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one, I'm offering one-on-one coaching. The first session is free. You can grab my calendar from the link in the description. And I look forward to meeting with you. Love you all. Talk to you soon.